Welcome to the Edge of Greatness podcast.
What would you tell someone who has a voice that doesn't have natural influxes and changes of tones, and they are monotone and they don't deliver a strong presented message? How would you help? Like, what would we do to fix that? Because isn't that something that's just how they speak? Is there something we can do to help with that?
Your voice will always pretty much sound the same, but the level of inflection and emphasis and how you articulate your words, that's a practiced speech habit. Now, what I have found in my experience is that most people who are described as monotone or flat or sometimes boring is simply the fact that they're not speaking loud enough. Now, inflection is typically a play on volume. The louder you speak, naturally, there will be more inflection in your voice. I've coached thousands of people now, though I have never once coached somebody that they are too loud. Almost everybody that I've coached is too soft, and I'm asking them to speak up. To make this more tangible, imagine volume on a 1 to 10 scale. 1 is a whisper, 10 is a shout, or you're yelling. When you address a group of people or you are communicating virtually, meaning maybe you're communicating on a Zoom call or you're recording a video for social media or YouTube, you should be at an 8. That's your goal, is to speak at an 8 on a 10 scale. If you compare that to your one-on-one volume, typically when you're communicating one-on-one in person, your volume is somewhere, but for most people, between a 4 and a 6. What happens is when they go to address a group of people or when they film a video of themselves, they stick in the volume that they're comfortable with, because most of the time we're just having a one-on-one conversation. We do it more often than we address groups. When you address a group though, that volume is much too low. People not only have a hard time hearing you, there's no inflection in your voice. And that's where we start to get that, where people think, well, this is really boring. She doesn't, or he doesn't seem interested in what they're saying. So the number one fix for most people is simply just to push your volume up to a place where it feels uncomfortable for you. If it feels uncomfortable for you, you're probably in the right spot.
That's interesting. I think I might be talking a little too low here. So as far as like my volume, because that's the interesting thing, because I wouldn't say that I'm at an 8 right now. I would say that I'm probably sitting more in my casual 6 range, but it'd be interesting to see, like, if I were to just start to project my voice louder, if it would make a more pleasant conversation for my listeners to listen to. So
now let me just say this. Since last June, I've probably coached a few hundred people virtually. That gives me a big pool of people to compare your voice against. If I were coaching you right now, I would say that your volume is at a 7 or an 8 based on the pool of people that I listen to speak.
Well, that's good.
Now,
maybe.
Yeah. The big with the volume, when I say an 8, that's not me telling people to yell. There is a difference between yelling and projecting your voice. The two tricks that I tell people are, if you are addressing a group of people in a physical space, speak to the person that is physically farthest away from you first. And if you know that they can hear you clearly without any problems, your volume will likely be in the right place. Virtually, speak as if the people that you're speaking to are hard of hearing.
That makes sense.
Because if I am speaking too loud, I know that you can simply turn the volume down on your laptop. But just even if you turn the volume down on your laptop, you still get the benefits of all of the inflection and the emphasis and the articulation that is coming across in my voice that's powered by how much I'm projecting my volume.
That makes sense. And I think maybe my voice projects because of the coaching in me. Maybe probably. I talk, it doesn't feel like I'm talking loud, but because I've been coaching people for so long that I'm trying to make sure my voice is loud enough for the people in the group to hear, I'm naturally projecting a louder voice than I would have otherwise thought I was. So that's possible. That's good to hear that you think that I'm at a volume loud enough that it's giving the right inflections and that sort of thing. So
Yeah, I would say don't spend your energy practicing your volume, because then that's just wasted energy. You're great.
All right, good to know. And do you feel like when somebody projects their voice the right amount, it makes it feel like they're excited or energetic about the information they're giving as well?
100%.
Okay, because I think that's
100%.
another thing that I feel like when you talk low and you're monotone, it almost feels like you're unsure or you're not really excited about the information you're giving. And it kind of then leads again back into the boring part. Because if you're not excited about telling what you're telling, why should I be excited to listen to it?
That's right. Well, let me make note of something. Right now, I would say, are speaking at an 8. This entire time that you've been speaking, what I've noticed is that you also have your hands up and you're gesturing a lot. So try this. Try speaking at a 5 and try and gesture a lot, the same amount that you've been gesturing.
I don't know if I don't know if I could actually.
They don't go together. It's completely counterintuitive. Somebody who is speaking at a low volume, you will almost never see their hands doing much of anything, or their body. There's no energy in their body. You can't speak at a low volume and have your hands up painting a picture of your words or moving around. What happens is the people that I coach that come into some of the programs that I do, they'll be at a 6 or 5 or a 6. And I'll say, okay, as they're going, I'll interrupt them and say, I want you to push your volume up 2 notches to an 8. I want you to feel like you're yelling at me. As soon as they do that, the number one thing that happens is their hands come up and they start moving their hands.
I love that.
Now I don't have to coach them on their hands, because their hands are doing what they're supposed to be doing. Your volume is a great place for a lot of people to start, because there's a lot of extra benefits that happen without me having to tell them to do it.
That's fantastic. And that this is a great way for information to get out about communication for my audience. And I think that this is going to be something that I'm going to come circle back on with some more people, because I think the communication piece, like I mentioned before we got started, is a piece that allows us to connect our thoughts to the message that we're giving. And it makes the information so much more enjoyable to listen to if you can communicate it clearly and with purpose and under control, and not just a rambling sound of words coming together.
That's right. And a lot of people that reach out to me for coaching, they want to get better at communication because they have a lot of good ideas. They have information they want to share, but they're too scared to share it because they don't think they're going to do a good job. And I bet there's a lot of people out there who feel that same way. If you can, especially if you're a gym owner, or if you have professional peers that you work on professional growth with, challenge one another to improve your communication, because an indirect benefit of doing that is you'll see a lot more people step forward and be willing to share the ideas that they have and the information or messages that they feel are important, simply because they have the confidence to say it out loud. Most people just don't share things because they don't think they're going to do a good job sharing it. So they end up just keeping it to themselves. Communication is the vehicle to get you there. It's like, I used an analogy once that was, would you buy a Lamborghini if it didn't have an engine in it? Yeah, but that's the equivalent of you having all of this knowledge and experience in whatever your profession is, and not having the engine to do something with it, for it to be productive for you in some sense. And that's communication. It's the engine that allows you to put what you know and what you're able to do into a product or a service, and it to actually get out there and help people.
I love that.
Thank you for joining us today on the Edge of Greatness podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's episode, and join us again next time as we continue to dig deeper into the key components of greatness. The path to greatness is never linear, so remember to keep pursuing greatness no matter what. Keep stretching your abilities, reach for the stars, and fall flat on your face. But no matter what happens, remember, whenever we fall, always get up. Until next time, I'm Charles Schultz, and this was the Edge of Greatness podcast.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. Please take a moment now to subscribe, rate, and review our show. We are all on the edge of greatness.